Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another day of Live at the Waterhole. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I'm going to be the voice that you'll be hearing for the next couple of hours. And right now, we are in Sabi Sand Game Reserve, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park, looking at, if not all of the impala in the Greater Kruger. There's so many here at the moment. But anyways, if this is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you on board. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. This is a live and interactive Waterhole show, so you can chat to me. And there are a number of different ways you can talk to me. You can either head over to Twitter or X, whichever one you prefer to call it, and you can ask questions away. All you have to do is just hashtag WildEarth. Then you can head over to the WildEarth website. Look out for the question tab. Ask questions like that. Or for the first little bit of the show, I think it's until 1 o'clock, you can even use the YouTube live chat. So looking forward to seeing who's joining us on this Monday. Hopefully it's not going to be a miserable morning and that the wildlife is just going to be flourishing as it is now in Djuma Private Game Reserve. Oh, there we go. A couple of you are already jumping on. Darren, you've said hello, and you said you love having me on the water holes, and it's time for some laughs. No pressure, Darren. Don't put pressure on me like that. The funniness just comes naturally every now and then, but now I'm stressed. What happens if I don't make you laugh? Then I'll go and sleep tonight. And then, Sandra, you've said another day at the water holes. You're so ready. Here we go. We've got Stuck in Bed from Utah in the USA, and that you're freezing cold. I can't say the same. It's overcast and it's quite warm. You can see the weather where I am is very similar to what it is at Djuma. And then Yolanda, you said that your cat loves watching with you. Oh, amazing. Please do share some pictures. What is your cat's favorite animal, Yolanda? Surely, is there one? I've been watching some hilarious animal videos recently of animals watching TV shows and movies and series, whatever the case may be, and just their reactions are hysterical. Now, I'm really excited to see all these impala, and just a couple of minutes ago, the impala were all coming in from the right-hand side of the screen, making their way towards this little pan. I suppose they're just coming to have a quick drink of water, although they don't really mind which side they have a drink of water from. I would feel safer drinking from the little pan on the left. It's smaller, there's less water in it. Unlikely that a crocodile is going to be hiding in it. Not to say that they couldn't, because there's a lot of footage from the Kruger National Park where crocodiles just live in these little water troughs, essentially. So that's quite interesting. But anyways, I'd still take my chances with a little concrete pan rather than this big water hole over here. But there's so many impala in this area. It's insane. So I hope they all bundle up in a group again, and then we can try and get like a wide shot. So just so that you can see how many are actually here. And as you know, these cameras are controlled by sometimes people sitting from all over the world. And there is a little bit of a delay. So just please keep that in mind as we progress through here. Speaking of weather, I'm quite curious to see what it is going to be in Madikwe and Olifants West and all the other locations. Let's go take a look. Well, it looks like it's going to be quite warm, even though the clouds are out and about. But here we go, a bit of sunshine at Madikwe with a high of 35 degrees Celsius today. What is that in Fahrenheit? I always forget. That must be in the high 90s at least. Anyways, this is a young elephant bull, and we are now at the Jamala Waterhole. So we're quite far northwest from where I'm sitting right now, and even where Juma is, in a completely different ecosystem that does not resemble the Sabi sand one little bit. And of course, that sound, oh, I almost choked doing that, is the wind. Shiv, you've said you've got a cup of tea, a piece of toast, and your puppy next to you on the sofa, and that you're ready for Taylor and Tucker on the Waterhole show. Let's do this. Right. Well, Tucker's not quite next to me. He's actually, that's my dog, in case you're wondering who Tucker is. He features on the show. Not that you're going to see him running through screen and chasing the elephants or anything like that, but he barks every now and then. He herds warthogs and chases monkeys because I also live in a wildlife area. And then, of course, he comes for pats, cuddles, and tickles. And then Marissa Lowe, you said that you are listening while you work. Well, this is awesome. I think this is stimulating and it should be played in offices worldwide. I think it would definitely motivate people a bit more. Although I don't, you see, I don't know if I could do that. I'd have to, if I hear someone else talking while I'm trying to work, it's a disaster. If I hear somebody breathing too loudly, I'm going to throw my laptop against the wall. So I find it difficult to work in big spaces. I often have to put headphones on and listen to music, and just kind of carry on and get my work done. But I also have the attention span of a Rice Krispie, so we know what that's like. That doesn't make it any easier. There's also lots of little swallows swooping about. I can't ever identify them. But the barn swallows should be back. We're seeing lesser striped swallows. I've heard them at this camera. I mean, there could be a bunch of different martin species too. And if it's any swifts, well, we know that they won't be landing. They'll just be swooping by and drinking water or perhaps catching insects as they fly about. But not that the elephant's too bothered. Just him on his own at the moment. Nigel, no friends. Hello, Catherine. You've joined from freezing cold Germany. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope you stay nice and warm and that you've got long, lucky socks on to help with today's wildlife viewing. I'm also excited to do a bit of birding as I am every day. Who knows what else we might see? I think that was a a swallow that literally just flew right across the screen, had a bit of a rusty head, and then you could see the nice blue feathers. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. If you blinked, you probably missed it. And Becky C, you said that you prefer these temperatures, you like them, you're waiting on a winter storm. Oh, I keep seeing so many videos of snow everywhere, and I've never seen snow before. I don't know how long I would enjoy it for. The other thing I keep seeing videos of for some bizarre reason is people snowboarding, and it makes me want to jump onto a plane and go snowboarding somewhere. I've never snowboarded in my life, but I skateboard and I wakeboard, so I don't think I'd have too much of a problem with it. I'd definitely fall. Oh, look, a bird.
Nurture your connection with nature with our weekly newsletter. Become an explorer and receive the latest word from the wild in your inbox. Catch up with your favorite WildEarth characters. Watch the week's memorable wildlife encounters. Stay up to date with the happenings and what to expect from WildEarth. Sign up today and get the best seats on the largest safari vehicle in the world. WildEarth, connecting with nature.
This African spoonbill is just having a great time, very actively moving around the waterhole looking for things to eat. And Janie, you're sitting and you're watching with your children, and you said that they would like to know if there's any crocodiles in this waterhole. Well, I'm not sure. The reason why I say I'm not sure is because crocodiles can move around quite a bit. They don't always move around that much. Like if there's no need to leave a waterhole or a river, then they won't. They'll stay there. But they can move around. And not too far away from here, in Madikwe, is another. There's a lodge called Tau, and they too have a big waterhole, and that's where we see all the crocodiles at when we are viewing the cameras on Madikwe. So it's possible that they could move here. However, this particular pan doesn't have much cover. It also gets really busy. I mean, some days we've seen 50 or 60 elephants easily all interacting around here and splashing about in the water. That would be very unpleasant. There's kind of nowhere for a crocodile to go, right? If there's lots of animals all splashing around here. So, not right now, I don't think. But that's not to say that in the future there couldn't be a crocodile. I mean, it might not be the ideal spot, but if a crocodile's trying to find a better place to go to and it does need a stopover, then this will be perfect. But Jenny, let me know what your children's names are. They're welcome to ask as many questions as they like. And I'd, of course, love to address them by their names. But this is one of my favorite birds to watch just because they move around so much, which is always interesting. Oh, I think that was a little bit deeper than the spoonbill expected. You see, it just about plopped down, but it didn't even panic. It just carried on like it was supposed to do it. And what we'll do is we'll maybe try follow the spoonbill around and just see what it gets up to. Hopefully, it catches something. Looks like it's picking up some smaller bits and pieces here and there as it brings its beak out of the water and tosses something up into there and catches it. And then, Marissa Lowe, you said that you find that listening to the show and everything about wildlife actually helps you to stay calm and it helps you to zone out. Oh, no, no. Sometimes you zone out when you have to concentrate really hard. See, that's what I would also have a problem doing. And you know what? Even the show, I get distracted because I'll just be sitting here talking, watching something, and then the next minute I'm like, oh, what's going on outside? And then I just want to get up and I go, I better go check on my caterpillar for the 500th time today. But I'll tell you about the caterpillar now. Let's see. Mr. African Spoonbill, where did you go? This camera does have quite a long delay. So we could be in the process of finding it again. We'll just wait for it, wait for the camera to do its thing. There we go. Much better. I'm hoping that it does pull up quite a big fish and devours it for us. It'll be nice. It's been a long time since I've seen a bird catching a decent sized fish. I've had a few sightings of herons, but just really little ones, not anything spectacular. Shiv, you've asked if spoonbills can swim. Yeah, they probably could. I don't know if they would also float on top of the water. Have you ever seen a heron swimming before? Because this is the most bizarre thing, right? We know herons wade around the water, but what happens with herons is that they kind of just walk into the water and then they stay buoyant and in really deep areas where they can't stand. And then it's like they just sort of kick with their legs and they're floating. You can see they're floating on the water like they're pretending to be a duck. I wonder if a spoonbill would be able to do something similar. I think all birds can swim, not like a penguin or an African darter or a little grebe that's able to, hold their breath as they go underwater and maneuver around quite quickly. But I gave this example the last time I had this question. Have you ever seen a bald eagle or an African fish eagle or an osprey or a big bird of prey fly down and catch a fish or something from the water. And normally, if it's a fairly decent sized fish, they end up not being able to grab it and take off with it. So sometimes what they'll do is then now they're in the water and they kind of do this backpedaling motion with their wings. And then that can help them get uh, to the shore where they can stand. So I'm not sure. It would be cool if this spoon will actually go in a little bit deeper to the point where its feet's not touching the bottom anymore. But it's probably unlikely to do so. Ooh, right. I think what we're going to do is we're going to very quickly pop back over to Juma and see if the Impala is still out and about. There we go. Impala on the other side of the waterhole. Those are big rams, and those are youngsters from this year. So some of them just over a month old now, maybe even 2 months. Probably pushing a bit more than that. There were a couple that were born in November. So here's a good example of how you can see all different impala interacting with one another. It's highly unlikely that this is one breeding herd. But the breeding herds with impala aren't necessarily fixed. You could get individuals joining up with herds too. I've seen that before. I don't know how permanent the bonding is. I suspect mothers and daughters might have a slightly closer relationship and will possibly continue that as they get older. We know that the young boys typically get pushed out. It's quite a nice mix. We've got rams that would be big enough to do some breeding. Then we've got youngsters that are just over a year old and have in fact actually been pushed out of their natal herds. And then some in between ages. There we go. One reacted and then they all sort of dash off. No alarming though. It's always good to just have a look around. It's better to be a bit more cautious than too complacent when you're living in the bush. See, here's another small collection of impala. And they'll all have their drinks and then start moving away from the water's edge. As it is going to be quite warm today, even though there are a lot of clouds, it's going to be humid. The rain is building. It's supposedly going to rain this weekend. We'll see. And then they'll just look for some shade and go and spend some time under the shade. Maybe we'll have a crazy sighting like we did on, was it Friday? Must have been Friday, where the impala were all sleeping below this camera. It was a great view. Look at all of them there. There's so many. So it's estimated that there are about 2 million impala left in Africa. That is unbelievable. We very rarely hear of such high numbers of one particular species these days. Of course, we know all the reasons why, sadly, we don't have mega herds of different animals. But impala, they are defying the odds. And they are the most prominent and abundant antelope species throughout this continent.
Welcome to Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy. Hey, Susan, no. Oh, look at her, she's absolutely gorgeous. Look at these two pushing each other.
Goodness gracious, look at all those little ones go. As much fun as they're having, stretching their legs and vocalizing, that's not always a good idea. I mean, have you ever wondered why animals just don't make a lot of noise all the time? Well, because you give yourself away if you make, oh no, come on, zoom a camera. It's a bit sticky today, but it's just super interesting. No, what is going on? There's something happening. Everyone is very unhappy now. Stuck in bed, you've actually made a comment about that they better be very careful because there was a pack of wild dogs not too far away this morning on the sunrise safari. And yes, I agree, but they've run away very quietly, which also makes me quite curious as to what's going on. So apparently the Mbali pack of wild dogs were seen around Baobab Dam. So where we're looking now, if you look basically where this camera is, the top left-hand corner, if you go straight above that and then you just head quite far left, but it's probably about a, I'm trying to think in terms of kilometers, maybe about 2 kilometers away or so. Maybe not even no, I'd say about 2 kilometers. So it's not that far away, right? And wild dogs will cover that distance in a really short period of time. So they could hear that. They might be resting. I don't know if they were out hunting this morning. And quite often dogs will rest during the day, but because it is overcast, though, it could still be perfect weather. I mean, leopards, lions, hyenas, you absolutely name it. This is like a buffet. And I mean that with no disrespect to the impala, right? But look at how many animals are here. Surely you would have a good chance of catching something even if you came in and caused a frenzy, right? There's going to be impala running everywhere in all sorts of directions. Uh, so I would probably take the risk and try and hunt here, to be perfectly honest. But luckily, I just go to the grocery store for my food, and don't have to worry about hunting nothing. Um. So yeah, so this is going to be. You see again. I don't know what that was. Some of them sticking around, others racing off, but no alarming. Now, normally when wild dogs, there we go. I think we need to stick wide. Something's going on here, but I think we need to zoom out and then scan around because while we're zoomed in, it's very difficult to tell what's going on. And I think let's check to the right. See, this is where it's tricky on the cameras. When you're sitting there in real life, right? You can just turn your head right, 180, not quite 180 degrees. My neck's a bit sore, so I probably couldn't do that. The Egyptian geese aren't panicking, which is interesting because even if wild dogs were to come charging through, they'd definitely start making a racket. Now I think everything has moved behind the camera. Hmm. They move so quickly though, and that is an advantage that impala have living together in herds like this. With there being so many individuals, there's more pairs of eyes and ears and noses to pick up on scents, but they react so quickly. With literally within a blink of an eye, one impala has made a move and they're all kind of copying it. It just becomes tricky for the youngsters that don't have much experience. They normally get quite panicked and unsettled and then cause a frenzy. I think the impala might just be on high alert. So maybe something has moved through here and there's a scent of a predator around, or perhaps there is a predator lurking about. I suppose we won't know until we find whatever is causing the stir. think what they did is actually ran behind the camera and moved up into this tree line, perhaps even going to the open plains, which are just further to the right and above. We can't see them though because there's a wall of trees, of combretums, bush willows. But I would think that that's a better area just because it doesn't, the grass is nowhere near as long and there's not as many trees. And the open area is also about 5 or 6 times the size of what we're looking at right now. So the animals were able to see all around them much easier. I just find it very strange that it's so quiet. If it was a leopard, if it was a lion, an antelope would have all been alarming. But with wild dogs, you stay very quiet and you just get out of the way. So apparently, I think it was Catherine said that she saw something running from the left-hand side of the screen to the right. I can't say that I did. I was watching the impala. I mean, it's quite possible that there's something slinking around. But Catherine, if you can let us know, was it on the other side of the dam? Was it towards the inlet, which is this narrower side on the left? We know how often leopards and things like to hide away in the trees that surround this waterhole. I mean, it's perfect. How many times has Mulwati, the ghost male leopard that we just occasionally see, he sleeps here the whole day and doesn't move.
Are you a wildlife fanatic, glued to YouTube for your daily dose of animal antics? Then, welcome to Africam's wildlife community. By joining our YouTube memberships, you get no ads, just wild live streams, chat with other bush fans, get early access to exciting camera spots, and flex your wildlife knowledge with fun quizzes. Visit Africam's YouTube channel and click the join button now.
So we've listened, we've scanned, we've done all the things that you're supposed to do when some kind of drama ensues that you're not sure what exactly what's going on. Hello, person walking around on the deck. So I don't know what was here. I can't say that I saw anything chasing the impala. And one thing we do know is that with wild dogs, their coloration does stick out quite a bit. So as those impala would have been dashing off, we would have seen a flash of white or something. And with 17 dogs, you'd think that we would have had more clues. But of course, packs of dogs do split up while they're hunting. They don't hunt together for the most part. They actually just run, follow a scent, or hear something, follow up on the sound. And then, of course, if they see their prey even better, then they can just zone into it and chase it down. Um, so, yeah. Very interesting. But they all got out of there, though. There's not one impala anywhere near this waterhole, which does make me think that something has happened and we just aren't able to see it. Didn't hear any alarm calls, though. There was like, what, 3 alarm calls, and that was it. Huh. But we can just keep an eye out on the waterhole, though, and see if anything else kind of happens. It's really pretty, though. I always think that the sounds around this waterhole are fantastic with all the birds. You hear the crickets and grasshoppers probably making all those raspy sounds. Okay. Well, if anything else crazy happens here, you can bet we'll be back in a flash. But let's go back to Jamala and watch the elephant and the spoonbill. There we go. Hello, elephant. You haven't moved very far. You're just eating now. That's nice. Not yesterday, Friday was a very different day. We had animals everywhere. We had so many elephants coming down to have a drink. But it is just getting hotter and hotter, so it's inevitable that they, of course, will come on down. There's a question just touching back on the impala from Lisa in Cape Town. You've said, are impala the same as springbuck? You could think so, because at a quick glance they kind of do look similar. However, that they aren't. They are two different animal species. They are closely related, though, right? But when I say closely, in terms of DNA genetics, not so much. But the way that they've been categorized, they are. So they're all part of the family Bovidae. Lots and lots of different antelope species that are all categorized in that. They're both in the same order, Artiodactyla. That I know doesn't mean very much to you, and for most people it doesn't really matter. However, where they are different is that they are in very, very different genuses. So for example, with impala, there are no other impala around. There's nothing else in the genus impala. Apiceras, just impala. And then the same kind of goes for with the springbuck are in a genus called Antidorcus. But not again, that is not so worried. But again, the other thing you can have a look at is, do they occur in the same area? Not so much. So we won't be seeing any springbuck in the Sabi Sand. We won't see any springbuck in this area where we are at the moment. But if you head towards the western parts of the country and then kind of the central parts of South Africa too, they prefer more of an arid grassland environment. And of course they. I mean, you go to Namibia, right, and they do very well in harsher environments. What have we got there? Hello, Waterbuck. Just one. Where's the rest of your herd? It's unusual that we're just seeing one Waterbuck back coming down to have a drink. I'm also trying to think, have I seen Waterbuck at Jamala before? At this waterhole? I don't think so. It's got such long ears when it's bent down like that, you could almost say it looks like a donkey. Hello. They're far prettier than donkeys, although donkeys are really cute too. But normally we see them in groups together. And Jordan is directing live at the Waterhole today, and she says that waterbuck are in fact some of the prettiest antelope species. I like kudu. I think Inyala are absolutely gorgeous. What else do I think? Yeah, I think kudu and Inyala are the prettier antelope species for me. I mean, waterbuck are they are truly beautiful. Oh my goodness! And then we start looking at things like gemsbok, which are also just out of this world. I suppose they all have their own quirkiness. Janie, are you still watching? Are your children still watching? I'm waiting for more questions from them. I love chatting to kids, so if any of you do have children, please ask them some questions for me. Tell them that I would like to talk to them directly. Well, through you, so not quite directly, but you know what I mean. Gosh, a very thirsty waterbuck. She's barely lifted her head up. She also looks like she's in fantastic condition. Her coat looks so lovely and sleek, shiny. But it's nice to see them. We normally see them a bit further north of where Jamala Waterhole is. And we head up to Tau, which we'll be able to do a little bit later after 1 o'clock when the Africam cameras join us. And that's my favorite place to see waterbuck, is in the marshy wetlands, which they absolutely prefer. But again, are also easily able to adapt. We see them in a variety of environments. And then just speaking of favorite antelope, Catherine, you've said that roan are in fact your favorite antelope. Everyone's just doing their own thing today. The blacksmith lapwing standing still. Egyptian geese also not bothering anyone for a change. The only thing that's active is the spoonbill. I'm just keeping an eye on the spoonbill, hoping it's going to dip into deep water so we can see if it can swim or not. I'm sure it can, though. Shiv, you said it's dangerous for the waterbuck to be on her own. It is. Life becomes a lot more stressful. It's unusual to see just one waterbuck cow by herself, because, as I've sort of suggested, is that they typically are in herds. I mean, she looks quite chunky around the midsection. Maybe she's got a young one that needs to come out. I don't know. Or is it a young? It's not a young male. Hey, I'm not going crazy. We didn't see horns. All of a sudden, I'm like, maybe no, it's not. Taylor, don't be ridiculous. This is why I do this thing when my head, basically my face is right at my screen now, trying to desperately see. Have I made a mistake? Are those little horns? They are little horns, aren't they? Can we have a closer look at this waterbuck? Sorry, my eyes are now doing this thing where I've now imagined that I've seen tiny little horns protruding from its head. But there's no ways that a waterbuck of this size would have tiny little horns, unless it was just dealt some really poor genetics. But the camera does have a little bit of a delay. Can you all see what I'm talking about? I should actually just be watching the show. Oh, it does have tiny horns. Okay, so I wasn't going crazy. What is going on? Turn your head here. That is bizarre. Broken horns. How unlucky are you? It is a male waterbuck. Sorry, everybody. Is it? How bizarre. Two very, very broken horns. So occasionally what we do see is females with horns. We see it a lot in impala, to be quite honest. I can't say I've ever seen it in a waterbuck before. So I'm just, again, this is where I actually have to have YouTube up on my big TV so that I can actually see what's going on. But this is so fascinating. Yeah, because I mean, how's that? Breaking both of your horns is rather unfortunate. Maybe this is just an old bull. Right. Everyone, we're just taking a break from the spoonbill for a moment. We've just been enjoying this elephant. And I, again, have had my face glued to my computer screen going, what on earth is going on here? Jordan says it looks like this elephant is eating popcorn. And it kind of does. And I suspect what has happened. And I can't give any answers, everybody. Also, I'm I think what has happened here, I highly doubt that those are flowers or mushrooms or anything like that have sprouted on the ground. They look just like marula fruits, bright green and lots of them. I think that somebody has emptied a pile of marula fruits here. I mean, I could be horribly mistaken, but it doesn't look like it's pulling anything up from the ground. Huh, interesting. Not sure why they would have done that, but anyways, lucky for the elephants, right? I'm very much looking forward to marula season. I'll be doing the same thing, maybe not quite as many, but storing storing some will be good. They're really nice if you are able to collect them. I like them when they're a little bit tart, so I prefer them a bit green. But chuck them in the fridge or the freezer for a while, and then sort of rub them in your hands, just sort of to uh, loosen the skin up quite a bit, and then you can also stimulate on the liquids inside. And then, of course, you bite the top off and you squeeze the whole thing into your mouth. And it's just delicious burst of vitamin C and so much energy. There's lots of sugar. Jordan is now would like to make a marula jam. Jordan, you can come and make a marula jam at my house if you would like to. I have not made a marula jam myself, but I've eaten copious amounts of it. I've watched people make marula jam, and it's quite the process. There are a lot of marulas that need to be used, but thankfully there are so many of the trees around. Especially where I live, they're everywhere. In fact, they are in the middle of the road too. They don't remove trees in the estate that I live, which is very cool. So you know that whole thing about you watch out, that tree might jump out in front of you. They literally do if you don't know the streets well enough. Now, I'm sure everyone's saying why they're feeding the elephants, right? I don't know what's actually happening here, but when you do have a closed ecosystem, in times of need, typically, so during the dry season, what you might find happening is reserve supplement feeding their wildlife because they aren't able to travel to new areas of grazing. And you can imagine if you've had not, you haven't had great rainfall for a couple of years in a row, it's not really giving the vegetation a chance to, even have a bash at life, right? Before even being eaten by wild animals. So this but it's just curious. I can't really comment on it and how it got there. Perhaps there was a tornado and it went over a couple of marula trees and then just happened to stop here and dropped its load. I don't know. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. But if you can come up with an even more creative story, I'd love to hear that. That's for sure. Jenny, maybe your kids would like to play this game. Maybe you can ask them, how did those marula fruits end up on the ground there? You can try and spin the biggest story possible. And then Lisa in Cape Town, you said, as a big kid myself, I concur. You're wondering if wild animals can get sunburned. Elephants don't seem to have much protection, for an example. Well, you are quite right. They do have hair covering their bodies, but it's coarse and it's quite sparse. And if you've ever seen elephant hair, it's actually quite a cool thing to do. If you're in an area where there's a waterhole or a tree where elephants regularly rub up against it to have a scratch, you must look in between the bits of bark. Quite often you can find strands of elephant hair, and it feels like a piece of plastic, a really thin piece of plastic. So their skin is quite dark. They produce a lot of melanin, which is helpful. We all know if your skin produces less melanin, you're going to be more susceptible to sunburn. So that's one thing that they have. The other thing that they will do, Lisa, is why they spend so much time around the water is not only just to drink, but they need to try and cool themselves down. So they will suck up liters and liters of water and cover it all over their bodies. But then they'll use mud. So they're smart. They're just like, okay, well, we need to protect ourselves. We don't have a lot of body hair, as you mentioned. So mud will work really well. And that's what they do. And then it also helps keep them warm, keep them cool, and can suffocate parasites in the process. And then Kev, you've said, do marulas have a preference for ripeness of marulas? I think that they must. I don't think elephants are necessarily picky, uh, especially when there's lots of sugary fruit around. I think they're going to just grab as much of it as they like. But I mean, you can watch a whole herd of elephants and you can sit there and you'll notice that there'll be a handful of individuals that are searching for a specific plant. Like they're lifting up logs to find a creeper, and that's what they're smelling out and looking for, that specific creeper. So they must get cravings, whether it's because they're lacking in certain minerals or vitamins, that they crave certain plants. I don't know. We kind of get that. Like I always crave beetroot and red meat quite often, and spinach, but that's because my iron can drop sometimes. So I find myself craving those foods constantly, especially beetroot and spinach. So I would assume that an animal with the intelligence of an elephant might be able to do that. And then, of course, it probably tastes nice. So maybe some of them have a preferred preference. Like I prefer marulas when they're more sour. Other people prefer when they taste like they've been fermented in the sun. Not my favorite. I don't really like that, like kind of almost off tropical fruit flavor. That's not for me. But some elephants might like that. Catherine, you said that you need to taste a marula fruit. You've never had one. Huh. I'm just trying to think. Maybe April's a bit late. I'll freeze some for you, Catherine. I don't know how long they're going to last in the freezer, but I'll save a bag for you. And we can eat them in April. Because I won't be able to take them on an aeroplane to Botswana with me, sadly. But I'll get into a lot of trouble, I imagine. Maybe not. I don't actually know. I probably won't be doing that, though. But this elephant is going to eat all of them. And one thing that I can tell you about marulas is, delicious as what they are, you do have to control yourself. You've got to make sure that you are careful to not overeat. And unfortunately, there's no warning. You just eat and eat and eat, and then all of a sudden your stomach starts cramping, and you can guess what can happen next. So, Mr. Elephant, I don't know how many marulas you could possibly eat in one go. But, anyways, there's also this whole myth about animals getting drunk off of fruit. This is not true. There is an exception. There's always an exception, right? But, anyways, it's not something that we're going to see in Africa. However, with African elephants and baboons and monkeys and all sorts of things, it's really impossible for them to get drunk off of fruit. Even if fruit were to have fermented, right? It's got to ferment for X amount of time, and I think it's going to. If every fruit is going to be slightly different as to the fermentation period for it to be able to produce an alcohol content, right? Now, realistically, do you think that fruit is going to last long enough in the perfect spot, and then be enough of them that something like an elephant could eat? I don't know how many tons of fruit an elephant, or how many, not tons, how many kilograms of marula fruit, a perfectly ripened marula fruit that has been fermented in the sun, would cause an elephant to be drunk. But I highly doubt that it is possible. They've done lots of studies on this. Their digestive system, it works so quickly. They don't just digest much of their food at all. They've got their poor digestive system. So for something like an elephant to get drunk, I think unless you were pouring alcohol down its trunk, which I'm hoping that no one will ever do on this planet, that it's probably not going to get drunk at all. But The Gods Must Be Crazy. That was a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go and watch it. And that's where some of those famous scenes kind of come from. There's gonna be no marula fruits here. I'm 98% sure that those are marulas. I can't think of anything else that's big and green like that. Grabbing almost looks like two at a time. Oh, you just dropped one. I also sometimes wonder myself, how far could an elephant throw? a marula fruit. I think that would be a great competition. Imagine having them all lined up on one side of the dam here, or one side of the waterhole, not dam, and then sort of tossing it across the waterhole. I can't believe elephants don't play catch. Here's another thing. Okay? I'm, of course, being completely ridiculous, but you never know.
Are you a wildlife fanatic, glued to YouTube for your daily dose of animal antics? Then, welcome to Africam's wildlife community. By joining our YouTube memberships, you get no ads, just wild live streams, chat with other bush fans, get early access to exciting camera spots, and flex your wildlife knowledge with fun quizzes. Visit Africam's YouTube channel and click the join button now.
Well, at least a couple more bulls have come around to join, sharing the marula fruits. So funny. Well, I'm going to go and quench its thirst. Looks like the waterhole is level has dropped down just a little bit. Starting to notice more and more mud coming up. Actually, I'm going to very quickly check what the forecast is for the next week for Madikwe and see if I can find it. Otherwise, I might have to use the town that it's close by to. Where do I go? Search. Okay, so the Madikwe is saying that there's potential for rain on Thursday and Friday. Well, I hope they get it. Everybody could do with the top up of rain. Goodness gracious. You charging in because you want your share of the marula fruits? Yep. This could be quite interesting. This might cause a whole bunch of drama with the elephant bulls, which will be exciting for us. A bit of a head shake. I wonder if somebody is watching on the deck, and that's how the elephant just did a little bit of a shake of the head, but not literally, what, a second, and then back to eating again. Can't be too bothered then. I started to see marulas developing on trees and a couple that had fallen down onto the ground, but not too many, not just yet. But it's normally now in January, February that we see the marulas all dropping, and the season can typically last till the end of February, early March, depending on how much rain that we've had. And in some cases, like it has for the last 2 years, marula trees will fruit twice, which is unbelievable. Although the second round of fruit is not particularly tasty, to be honest. You just see how the bigger bull wins every single time without hesitation. The younger ones will come and eat, and then as soon as someone, let's see, actually, now this could be quite interesting. See this young fella that's splashed himself with mud? What's going to develop? Taking a wide berth, still going to try and sneak around. Well, the bull on the right, he's just flapping his ears because there's insects that are bothering him. Look how sneaky the younger bull is being. Oh, just nothing to see. Just, yeah, I'm having a look at the ground. That's quite nice. Maybe there's room for two of us. You can see he's much younger. Look, his trunk is still twisting off to the right, sort of subtly smelling, going, oh, I really wish I could go back there. Should I go back there? Should I risk it? Am I going to get chased? He's really thinking about it, and the big bull is actually not acknowledging him at all. Now he might chase him. Yay. He's not even really chasing him, right? He's just herding him along with the sheer size of his body, or not. Are you going to turn around? No, leaving the marulas. Risky business. I would definitely not do that. Run, little one, run. I'd be there pigging out completely. Lucky boy. Patience paid off for this youngster. Shiv, you're wondering if this waterhole is natural or if the lodge would actually fill it up. So there's a little pump. There's a little pipe. Well, you can't see the pump, but there's a pipe, and you can't see that either because it's underground. So I'm really confused about this entire area around Jamala, and I don't know anybody that works at Madikwe. So if there's any guides that work at Madikwe, please reach out. Please let me know. Pop me I don't know, DM me, because I do have some questions. Um, I am so convinced that this was an airstrip. This plain, this like depression here is so open, and it's rectangular, and I just find that so bizarre. But maybe it isn't. I'm of course I have no idea, and I'm just saying like what I can go off of. Um, so it's a natural low-lying area, so water would typically collect here. It's why there's almost like a salt pan. There's a high concentration of minerals in the soil, which is why we see a lot of the animals eating it, performing geophagia. um, and then it gets topped up with the rain. So I think maybe it started off as maybe a little mud wallow, perhaps, and it naturally got bigger and bigger, and then the lodge maybe got involved and dug a bit more, or maybe they'd started it. Who knows? I actually have no idea on how this waterhole started, but it gets topped up with the rain, and it does get topped up with the water from the groundwater that is pumped into it. But unfortunately, from what I've seen now, since when did I first start doing the waterhole shows? In August. The water pump is not able to keep up with the demand of the animals. So in order to get it full like this, you really need the help of the rain to kind of top it up. Oh, there we go. Honey Badger, you said maybe Jamala wants marula trees. Well, Madikwe wants marula trees, and they're using as a natural dispersal. Oh, there we go. That's one way to do it, right? Elephants are great at contributing to seed dispersal. And I mean, some fruit, in fact, actually has to pass through a digestive system, right? To get rid of the hard outer covering, or to at least the digestive enzymes to make it a bit easier for that seed to then germinate. So it's quite a process, and marula fruits are one of those that need to pass through the digestive tract of an animal.
We all know the struggle of finding the perfect gift. But what if you could give them an unforgettable experience? Something truly extraordinary. Introducing Nature Eye. Fly a real drone remotely at iconic locations, witnessing the beauty of nature like never before. Sign up to be an explorer and you could win one of these experiences yourself. Visit natureeye.com today.
Mm, mm. Oh, so wind is just getting stronger and stronger. There's a interesting question from Starbuck. You said, when elephants just stop, are they communicating? Or are they communicating on a frequency that we can't hear? It's probably both. So, just like us as humans, right? We don't only communicate with one another by speaking, by vocalizing. I mean, we pick up on body language too, right? That's a super way to interpret what's going on. And elephants are not shy when it comes to, demonstrating body language. So they'll be watching that, and then of course, most of elephant communication is done in frequencies that are so low, as you suggested, that we just can't hear. And it's why we also perceive elephants and I think a lot of animals to be fairly quiet when in fact there's a lot of communication that is going around, but it's just to a point that we're not able to hear it. So then we just automatically assume, right, that they well then they must not make much noise, which is so fascinating. Um, so yeah, so they will stop. They also I think they think about what they're going to do as well. I think elephant bulls don't think about what they're about to do. They just kind of jump straight into it. I must be an elephant bull then. Um, so I think hopefully that kind of answers your question. Right. Well, it's just before 1 o'clock, and as I said earlier, it's now time for the Africam cameras to join the show, which gives us a bunch more locations. And the first one we're going to go and check out is all the way on the east coast at Tembe Elephant Park.